Hello and welcome to Awakened Entrepreneur Revolution. In this podcast, you will discover how to co-create success in your business by aligning mind, body, and soul. Tune in each week to hear unconventional ways to build your business by focusing on sales and marketing energetics, mixing the woo and the do to enroll more clients, transform more lives, and create the ripple effect you know you are here to make. The traditional approach hasn't resonated with you because it is not meant for you. You've simply evolved past it. The energy is shifting. Old bro tactics and strategies are not working anymore. And you know there is a more aligned, more authentic, and far more impactful approach for you. Join me, Jenni, the Authentic Sales Coach, and a special guest each week as I discover how they co-created their multi-6 and 7-figure businesses by taking inspired action and cultivating success from the inside out. Let's transcend the traditional together to massively up-level your business and to live your purpose on purpose. Hello and welcome back to Awaken Entrepreneur Revolution. Today's guest, as soon as I start reading her intro, you guys are going to be like, oh, of course, Jen is extremely excited. Hopefully we won't go on for hours and hours, but Jenni Schulz is the host of the Manifestation and Money podcast. She threw herself, get this, you guys, a retirement party at the age of 34. Ditching the 9-to-5, and has been having fun ever since. Does anybody else want that? That's amazing. So Jen loves using the power of manifestation along with inspired action, key point, to supercharge results. She inspires others to create a life they love while matching up the income streams to support it. Please welcome. Do you go by Jen or Jenni Schulz?
Either, whatever rolls off the tongue. Yeah.
I know a lot of Jen, so I'll probably call you Jen.
Yeah, that's good.
Even my girls know. They'll be like, Mom, that's another Jen. I'm like, I know, I told you. There's lots of Jens. I got lots of Jens in my life.
We're everywhere.
It's true. That is true. But I think for whatever reason, there's just more, even more so for me. And so anyway, hi, Jen. How are you?
I am so good, and I'm so excited to be chatting with you today.
Me too. This is, my audience knows, is one of my favorite conversations because, well, for one, it's a fan favorite, right? But also, like how much unprogramming can we do for people to get them to open up and receive and trust the abundant nature that they already have, right? And how. So tell me like a little bit about how you became this manifestation expert. And I know you have some really cool stories about what you've been able to do. So please tell me about it.
I think it's best to start back at the beginning where I used to be like, I call myself a former people pleaser. I thought I had to graduate, go to university or some higher education, get a job with a pension, and then just ride it out till retirement. So I tried to do that and I hated it. And I was like, I was in my early 20s. I'm like, I can't sign up for doing this just because society expects me to do it this way. So when you talk about like undoing stuff, I had this expectation on myself that was the way that I was supposed to be lifing it, right? And when I realized that I couldn't sign up for decade after decade of doing something that just didn't feel right for me, and knowing that it was more than just like I could go get another job, but another job would still be me asking for time off, me having that glass ceiling, me having just the restrictions of building someone else's dream. And that just didn't feel right. So that is kind of when I started to accidentally get on the path of manifestation. So back then I didn't really know what intuition was, how to like notice it. And so all I knew at the time was I wanted to do something different. So I started articulating that. And people around me would be like, oh, here, you should read this book. And another person was like, you should read this book. And those two books that came across my lap were Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki, and The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. So 2 books comboed together that completely pivoted the direction of my life. So the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it got me onto, you don't have to trade your time for dollars. You can create your own business and go do your own thing, being in way more control of all those little pieces of control that I didn't want to give up. And then Jack Canfield's book is kind of where I had my first accidental manifestation things occurring in there, because there was one exercise. Well, first off, the very first chapter in there is your event plus your event plus your response equals your outcome, right? And that was where I had the epiphany of, oh, I can't keep showing up for somebody else's job. Otherwise, I'm going to keep winding up where I am right now, and it doesn't feel good. So that's where I was like, I have to shift. And then later in that book, there's the exercise of what do I want to be, do, and have. So I made myself a little list, and I tucked that list in the book, and I put it aside. And then a year later, I was packing to move, and this little list fell out of the book, and every single thing on the list had come true. And I was like, holy smokes, what is this? And there were things on there like moving into a house with my husband, having my dream wedding, getting a miniature schnauzer dog. It was a lot of stuff, like a blue jacket that I really wanted, a trip to Cancun with my sister. And the way things lined up, it was like the universe was aligning to that I had to say yes. So when I closed on the house, I had exactly enough money left in the account to say yes to that trip to Cancun. That blue jacket, I saw an off-season sale that was 70% off. So I just had to say yes to it. Like everything just lined up so perfectly. And when that little list fell out and I realized that everything had come true, I was like, what is this? Let's go deeper. So I just sat down right there. I was supposed to be packing, and I read further into that book. And that's where my spark came into, like, learning about vision boards, and started doing them, and they started coming true. And then that is honestly where the seed for that rabbit hole of getting me into manifestation and realizing that you can co-create your own reality. You don't have to fit into society's box of what you or what they, and in the situation there, the they was me. I was telling myself, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to go get that pension job. I'm supposed to ride it out. It's safe, it's secure. And just to allow yourself to step into, oh, what do I want? And then figure out the pathways that align with that. That was a game changer for me.
Oh my goodness. Where shall I begin? So much goodness here. So the first thing I have to say, speaking of synchronicities, is those were 2 books for me as well. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, really early on. I think even before I had my spiritual awakening, and just started opening me up to like a whole nother way to think, right? And then Jack Canfield, I actually became a success principles trainer, because I just adored him so much. And I have to say, a combination of him, Wayne Dyer, and even Deepak Chopra at the time is really what catapulted me from I was in that fortunate situation of I got everything I wanted, and felt like this is it. I got the house, I had the kids, I had the dog, I had the great job. And it was like, I very much resonate. I bet you'll remember when Jack Canfield says, you don't want to put your ladder against the wrong wall and get to the top and realize it. And I was like, oh my God, I put my ladder. I did it. And so I love that, because I completely get it. And just the power, you guys, in these books. I think another one that was big for me was Eat, Pray, Love. Like, it was just like opened me up to like meditation, and so there's just so many of these different things. But what I really wanted to hone in on is that you got everything you wanted, because that seems to elude a lot of people, myself included. I mean, even though I said I had it then, it was like when I finally figured out meditation, then it became issue to like get it,
Right.
I'm like, it's on the vision board and I've tried really hard. So what do you think it was? What is your human design? Are you a manifester or manifesting generator by chance? Do you know?
Do you know what? I don't know what my human design is. Isn't that bonkers? Because, okay, so that has come up a few times now, even like chatting with people on my podcast. And now that I know to pay attention to my intuition and know that the universe is co-creating with me to get me to what I want, I need to go check into that, because this is like the third time or maybe more now that I've heard that. So that is my sign that I need to look in and learn that for myself.
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm just curious, because a lot of people do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing they do. They put the vision board together and then maybe some of it happens, but certainly I think a lot of people have been disillusioned with
Mm-hmm.
it. I don't know if you were around, The Secret cracked a lot of people open, and it was wonderful and groundbreaking at the time, but it was also a little like misleading in the sense that, we can't just like think about what we want, which is why I loved what you said in your bio about, and then inspired action, because I think that guy somehow either we just didn't hear it or something, but a lot of us didn't have the piece of paper fall out. So what do you think that it was that you were doing that made all of those things happen? I mean, I know you took action, but
I took action, but some of those things were just like I had to, well, I guess you have to say yes. That's the action piece. You're still saying yes to it. But I think I had hit that wall in my life where I knew I had to change. Mm-hmm. And I was just putting it out to the universe that I am open to something different. And I wasn't clear on that time at what the pathway was, but I knew I was open to something different. So I think the universe was just responding by maybe almost cultivating that belief in me. Like they're like, okay, you're open to something different. We're going to start. Like, how could I not pay attention to that? I was like, this is something I'm supposed to pay attention to. Like everything on this list just came true. And I think that was just the universe saying like, hey, look, you have like manifestation as a tool in your toolbox that you weren't even aware of. So how can you use this moving forward to get intentional? Because then like everything on that list came true. And like I said, some of it was like literally a blue coat, not huge, grand things. And then I could dream bigger, right? I'm like, if it worked for this list on these little things, then it can work on those big things. So I think it was just cultivating that belief in me. And once you have that belief, it's easier to start trusting and start saying yes and start just dreaming bigger. And that's when from the Robert Kiyosaki stuff, that's when I got into house hacking real estate. So that was kind of that path. I'm like, I'm going to pivot. And the funny thing is in that job that I completely disliked, I was able to stay at it for, I think about 4 more years and house hack real estate on the side. And suddenly that job, it wasn't so painful to get through the day, because at the end of the day, I was excited to go work on my stuff. I was excited. I had the energy left to go be building the thing I wanted to do. And the universe kept responding by, okay, here's another opportunity. Are you going to say yes to it? And then it was up to me to say yes and just keep moving forward.
Oh, I love that too. Because you still went and did what you needed to do to fund what you were doing. I think some of us, I'll just speak for myself. It's like, how do I get out of this as quickly as possible and move to the next phase right now?
Yeah.
And you did it so elegantly, in the way you reframed it in your mind was such a high vibe, high frequency way of really receiving and not looking at it so much like this stinky job, but like, this is my way of receiving so that I can fund my future.
Yeah.
And it seems like, but Jana, that's the same thing. But it's not. It's not the same thing. It has a different intention now. Mm-hmm. It goes from I have to do this to I get to do this.
Yeah. It goes from I'm grinding it out here, hating this, to all of a sudden, this is funding my new project.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I love that. Well, so, like what I was saying before, a lot of people get frustrated. And what do you think is the missing piece for so many? I mean, even my clients, especially when they first start, it's really hard to get people out of scarcity.
Mhm.
Like, where's the next client? And here I am as a sales coach, and it's like, you cannot get on a sales call with anybody needing them. So
No.
it's really difficult to, so how do you, I guess I try to sort of answer the question with the attachment is why it's not. So what do you think the reason is that people are having trouble manifesting? And then I'd love to hear how
Mhm.
you help people get out from under it, because it almost feels like it just closes in on them. And it's like, how do I get
Mhm.
them
Yeah.
out from under the control of the fear of the lack?
Yeah, and under that control, and it helps to have somebody like you in their court that is listening to what they're saying and how they're saying it, because often we're manifesting, but we're using the negative language or they're focusing on what they don't want, and they're holding so tightly and gripping onto what they don't want that they're not leaving space for what they do want, because they're by by gripping onto what you don't want, you're pulling that in, right? Like you've probably, that we're manifesting every day for the good or the bad. And if you're gripping onto the bad, you're sucking yourself down that path, whether you are so desperately wanting this other thing. Okay, so this is maybe random. I don't know if this answers your question or not, but when I get kind of derailed and I'm coming from that place of just feeling like I'm coming from a lower vibration spot, I've got this little, what I call my vitamins list. So it's basically like a little checklist of just those things that are going to bring me up. Like it's sit out on my deck and have a cup of coffee in the sunshine. It's have a shower with this grapefruit scent body wash that I really like. Just those things that when you feel like you're just coming from this bogged down state, how can you just intentionally say, okay, I'm just going to bring myself to a little bit of a higher elevation space? Because I find when we get ourselves to a higher elevation or a higher vibration, it's easier to say yes to those things that we want. You're coming from a different place. You don't, like you said, want to be coming from that place of sales where you're feeling desperate. Instead, you want to be focused on, like for me, I love family time. So if I'm focusing on, I want a bigger paycheck because I want to fund all these extra vacations for our family, that feels fun and expansive. And then I can manifest the clients coming to me and just saying yes, because I'm coming from a place of, this is fun. This is playful. People pay to play with me. That's the one I love to use,
I love
because
that.
like I like to work with people and it's fun for me. It's play, and people play me or pay me to play. Tongue twister, try it yourself. But they pay me to play. And if I come at it from that space, it feels more expansive. And expansive is the space that you have to somehow get yourself to feeling and believing. And that can be a game changer.
Yes, I so much so. What I'm hearing you say is you have to think bigger than, or feel bigger, or be bigger than maybe what's showing up, because I'm sure you hear this too. It's like, but what about the bills, Jana? Like, that's money's, and it's like, that may be true, but it still doesn't belong in your vibration. Like,
Yeah.
it's kind of like my daughter got in trouble on the bus yesterday, and she's sitting in her room. What if I have to go to the principal's? What if they give me ISS? I mean, I was like, what if they just decide you can't ever go back to school? I mean, if we're going to play the game, like, maybe you're done. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's not letting your mind like run away with you. Right. And then in the playfulness,
Yeah.
when you can bring the room in for play and not take it so seriously, it's like the antidote for the fear. It feels, and then, the other thing that I love and is so true is because, here I was like, Jen, I know all of this stuff. I don't know why it's not working for me. Like, I know I've been doing this work for 5 years. I understand frequency and vibration, and where's my stuff?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that, just because you know it doesn't mean you're embodying it.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you want it so bad is deeply rooted in fear.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that. Like, you can desire it, but like you said, you kind of just have to be playful about it, because the more you cling to it, the more you bring in, because clinging is fear. So you bring in the opposite.
Yeah.
It's so nuanced, you know?
Yeah. And seeing you do that gripping and that clinging motion, it's also the fear, but it's also us as humans gripping onto a single outcome. This is the thing we want. You're not leaving space for it to show up in a different way, possibly a better way, like possibly even better than you can even imagine right now. If you're gripping onto that one response, you're also limiting yourself and you're coming from a place of limitation.
100%.
Mhm.
Something I was actually telling my clients inside one of my coaching groups yesterday is you have one vantage point, whereas this force that's working with you makes your heart beat, makes the sun shine, makes babies grow in our bellies. I mean, it's beautiful. And so you're going to sit there as like little Jana or little Jen and say, but this is it. This is the best, highest good for me. This is like, it's ludicrous when you really think about it.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
it's
like
really
we are
silly when you
seeing
think
a
about it.
fraction of a micro fraction of a fraction
Yeah.
of what's actually possible.
Yeah.
And saying, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I always go back to the analogy of I can't even remember the exact percentage of our human brain that we actually use. I'm like, think of it like that. Whatever our brain is supposed to be doing or has access to that we don't even know, just trust that it is working and connecting to our higher good. So yes, we might have an idea, but expand into the option that there is infinite potential otherwise.
And that it knows better.
Yeah.
It knows better.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing, I was actually just talking to one of the people, a different client just now before this. And, we were just talking about like the surrender and trust piece and how difficult that can be when because we also have to take our action, right? And we'll get to that in a second, but from a place without expectation and the non-attachment. So for example, last weekend I was speaking in Utah and I had to get home to my daughter. In the plane, like it was bad weather. She had her first cheer competition the next morning. And I was like, all the feels, like you're a terrible mom, all the stuff, and everybody's like, it's going to be okay. It's all going to work out. And I'm like, but sometimes it working out isn't always what I want. And I have to just sit with that too.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know that a long time with manifesting, right? Like it does always work out. Everything is always working out for you, for me, for everyone, just not necessarily in the way we want at the time.
Yeah. And you don't realize until you can look backwards on that path, right?
Yeah. And so how do we then, we got to stay unattached. We have to leave the room open.
Mm-hmm.
We want the desire, but not so much that it causes a resistance. And we want to bring the fun in. But to me, like, how do you know when to push and when to just ease up?
It's a dance. You don't always know, but you like it's starting to the two indicators that I always take, it's like my intuition. I get those little nudges, those feelings in my stomach, the pulls in my heart or in my solar plex that I'm like, okay, I'm just supposed to do this. And then the little synchronicities that start showing up around you. And like I said earlier, if I start hearing about something multiple times, I'm like, oh, this is something that is showing up in my presence for a reason. Ding, ding, ding. Let's say yes to this. The evidence, when you trust that the thing that you want is yours and you're working towards it without attachment, easier said than done, right? But then you'll start noticing pathways align or open up, and it's up to you to say yes. Like you're not going to win the lottery unless you buy that lottery ticket, right? You have to be saying yes to the pathway as it opens up and trust the intention that you want it, but just the trust that it's yours and moving forward. The only thing I can think of is it's like a dance. Like, and it's sometimes you'll go through a day or a week or a pocket where you look back and you're like, I'm gripping again. I'm gripping onto this single outcome, or fear is suddenly creeping back in, or the little voice in my head saying, oh, you can't actually have this because you've asked for too much. That happens to me When I manifested a lake property for us, I turtled for an entire year. I say I turtled, like I pulled back and I was like, okay, I got exactly what I wanted. I'm just going to back off now. I'm going to let somebody else get the things that they want, right? And it was a full year before I realized like, oh, wait a second. I can start asking for what I want again. And it's strange. It'll ebb and flow. You will dance, you'll step in and out of it. And just, I guess, to intentionally check in with yourself. Am I gripping onto something? If things aren't working out, what am I scared of? What am I gripping onto?
What are you afraid of?
What am I afraid of?
Yeah.
And sometimes we're afraid of just being seen. Like somebody wants to get that new job position or that job title, but then it's a fear of, oh, what will people think if I am the boss or the new CEO of my company? So it's sometimes we want the thing, but we're also scared of the thing that we want.
Yeah. I mean, I know exactly what you mean. I want to hear your lake property story too. But now where my business is headed, like when I say like my next target's $1 million, like it's still, I'm still noticing how that feels, or to even, to say 10 million, especially depending on who I'm talking to. Right. And it's like noticing that stuff because there's things in there that are, there's a level of something, discomfort, dis-ease, unworthiness or receipt. Like there's some little, and so I think it's that too. Like it's your day in and day out. And it's also, how do you feel when you say that thing?
Yeah.
Like I'll challenge, you think you're abundant and you're feeling abundant, go take out all your very best friends to dinner and pick up the check. Let me know how that all feels.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
because those are good tests.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really feeling abundant, then what does it matter? And exactly. I watch myself too. And it is a dance because we are so deeply, this is no shame or shade at anyone, because we are so deeply programmed. Like you said, that if I get this, they don't. Mm-hmm. If I receive, somebody else doesn't, when actually there's more than enough for everyone. Mm-hmm. You're not taking from anyone.
No.
You're just receiving what's already yours.
Exactly. And right now when I have clients that are like, oh, but like coming from that position of money is scarce. And like, are you kidding me? Like you're from the United States, I'm from Canada. Our governments have printed more money since COVID than we can even wrap our heads around. Money is not scarce. We just have to get creative on how we're attracting that money to ourselves. Money is not scarce.
I just heard, I don't know, it wasn't our presidential election, but some election, somebody spent $500 million or something like that. There's only 330 million people in the entire US. Like, that's enough for everybody to have over. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, there's plenty. I know. I'm like, where? So there's plenty. Mm-hmm. And, anybody that feels that, I would say, how good does it feel to feel that? What would you prefer to feel instead? Because if a belief is a decision, I'd rather just decide something else, know? Well, I end up, even though I don't teach manifestation directly, but I teach high ticket sales. Mm-hmm. So, I